much for joining me today. I'm Colleen Klimczak. I'm an organizational and productivity coach and a certified professional organizer. I own Peace of Mind Professional Organizing, LLC. Since 2003, I've been helping my clients live better lives through organizing and organizational and productivity coaching. I support my clients and my community with coaching, in-person and virtual organizing, my weekly podcast called Your Organized Life with Colleen Klimczak, a free weekly productivity session called Finish Line Friday, a free weekly email newsletter, and regular content on Facebook and Instagram. I also offer presentations and professional development to groups and companies. Soon enough, I will be launching a membership circle to support my community with even more coaching and productivity content. Want to finish strong this week? Join me for Finish Line Friday every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central for a 2-hour productivity session. Drop me an email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com to request my Zoom room link or follow the Zoom room link on my Instagram or Facebook pages. Welcome to Your Organized Life, episode 153. We are starting with wise words today from an original thought leader and influencer, Dr. Seuss. This is from Oh, the Places You'll Go, one of my favorites. You can get so confused that you'll start in to race down long wiggled roads at a breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, towards a most useless place, the waiting place. For people just waiting for a train to go or a bus to come or a plane to go or the phone to ring or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or a no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. And then he goes on to say, no, that's not for you. And that is where we are headed today. So today is about waiting and what to do about it. I have to chuckle. I started this article in Google Docs a week ago, and I left the tab open on my browser to add ideas to since then. And so the working title was waiting in quotation marks, ... And so I had a tab open for a week that was waiting for me to add to. Is that irony? I don't know, maybe. What's even more interesting or timely for me was waiting for more content. I shared space last week at a benefits and wellness fair with a friend and peer, Eva from the Cognitive Clinic. And that is a wellness practice that I mentioned in last week's ADHD article. And she had a plastic skeleton sitting in a chair next to her as part of her table display with a Cognitive Clinic t-shirt on and a sign that said, I am waiting for my perfect fill in the blank here, right? And please understand that this is Halloween week when we're recording this. So skeletons made sense at the time. Waiting is our topic today. First, let's define waiting in the context of today's article. A quick Google search yielded waiting is the action of staying where one is or delaying action until a particular time or until something else happens. Or, per dictionary.com, a period of waiting, pause, interval, or delay. Per freedictionary.com, the act of remaining inactive or stationary. So for today, we are using the idea of waiting as a time of inaction or delay, and is likely not a very useful endeavor. I really loved the message that, so the skeleton's name was Kelly the Skeleton. I really loved the message that our friend Kelly the Skeleton was sharing. The reminder that we could literally die or waste away waiting for something, especially if we decide that whatever it is has to be perfect. Because perfect is never going to happen. No person or situation will be or stay perfect. So let's get good at working with what we have. Waiting. I will talk about the positives of waiting in a little bit when we can make it preparing or resting. But if we just look at it as inaction or delay, waiting is a lack of movement in any direction. And that's not healthy or positive or useful. And it can actually be really stressful. I mean, I get it. Sometimes we have to wait. Like when we're scheduled to go on a trip, or we have a doctor's appointment coming up, or waiting for the holidays, or as someone on social media responded to my waiting question that I posted last week, waiting for this weekend's football game. Those are examples of waiting in anticipation or in preparation. However, we often wait for things we don't need to wait for. Like, I'm waiting to make positive changes to my habits or relationships or mindset until I feel like it, or until next season, or until I magically wake up feeling motivated, or next year, or until I win $1 million or I retire or something, right? And then that begs the question, what benefit is doing nothing providing for you? What is the delay or inaction actually doing for you? And the answer might be nothing, unfortunately. So can we please become aware that we are waiting? That we are actively choosing a delay or inaction, and for not any good or positive reason? And next level, can we turn the waiting into preparing? Can we decide that we're done waiting and turn from inaction to action? Because you deserve better, my friends. We all do. So here's an example. And because I don't have to ask myself for permission, I'm using myself as an example. I give advice often, especially at my presentations, that we don't need to wait. We don't need to wait to get organized or be more productive or make positive changes in our lives. At almost every moment or any moment, we can take little steps and sometimes even big steps towards positive change. And sometimes I really need to hear and take my own advice. I know I've mentioned, in addition to being a productivity coach and a certified professional organizer, I'm also a liturgical musician. And in the last few months especially, I am singing and playing a lot. Hired to sub in as a cantor at 3 to 4 local Catholic parishes on any given weekend. I mean, hey, paid to sing at Mass, what could be better? I do love it. But there are challenges because, of course, each parish uses a different list of hymns and music for their Masses each weekend, and different books, too. To learn the new songs and rehearse and arrive prepared to sing, I have 7 different hymnals on my desk right now for reference. And I say that so decisively because I went and counted. And as a flautist, I also have flute accompaniment books to go with those hymnals. Yeah, it's a lot of books, my friends. So imagine with me, my husband and I were asked to play a reconciliation service this past week, and I had 5 books with me, the size of a binder each, that when stacked were over 6 inches tall altogether. And that was for one 1-hour service. Whew, that's a lot. So I've had a task on my to-do list for months to buy a new iPad and set it up with a music app so that I can carry music with me digitally on my iPad instead of 10 pounds of books. Which, when I say that out loud, we all can recognize is a really silly statement for me to make. Because I don't need to wait. I can work with what I have. Yes, I absolutely needed to take my own advice, and I realized that last week. There was some preparation in my waiting. I had already asked my experts and researched my options, so I knew which app to use. I was just waiting for money in the budget to purchase a new, larger iPad. I was waiting to set up a tool that will likely make my life easier because I thought I needed a bigger iPad to make it work. And here's the thing, I do not. I have an iPad. It's not very big, but I have it. I bought a new phone last week because my old one is really old and was no longer holding a charge. And in my head, I said, well, I guess I will keep waiting for that iPad since I spent so much money on this recent purchase. And then I stopped myself. I don't need to wait to take a step that may make life easier. I can use the tools I have now, my current iPad. I can sign up for the music app Fourscore immediately, which I did, and I can set it up, which I also did. right? I can act. The perfect situation, the perfect alignment of planets, the perfect anything is probably not going to happen. And I can choose to act instead of waiting. So let's review, right? What was that example I used? What did I do that turned waiting into preparation? I identified the problem. I need to not carry around so many heavy books from church to church on a weekend. I asked my experts, my fellow musicians who were already using an app for their music, about which one they recommended. I considered what features would help me, like being able to search my music or being able to make notes on the music, and every musician listening would understand that. I started saving my newly purchased or acquired or assigned music in PDF form, so it will be ready to upload soon. I realized I don't have to wait. So instead of waiting, I took action. So the other day, I asked this question on social media. I asked people to please answer the question, what am I waiting for? And if it helps you to think about it, this was all in the post, ask the question with emphasis on each word separately, meaning, what am I waiting for? Like, what's the goal? What am I waiting for? Which helps us to focus in. What am I waiting for? Am I waiting or am I waiting on someone else? What am I waiting for? Is there something else I could be doing? And then what am I waiting for? As in why? So sometimes a shift in perspective helps us. For example, on a call this week, a client was waiting to buy a dress for an upcoming wedding until she lost 5 pounds. But now the wedding is just a few weeks away and now she needs to buy a dress. So waiting did not serve her. From a community member answering my social media question last week, she said, sometimes I think we're waiting for people to invite us. For instance, volunteering. In reality, we should step up and ask, who can use my help? And then go and help. Practically every organization can use volunteer help, right? What are we waiting for? I loved that answer, by the way. Yes, sometimes we have to wait. However, I also received a direct message that read, we often wait to do something until we grow up, or we meet the love of our life, or we have kids, or until the kids are grown, or until we retire. But then we've spent decades waiting to do the things that we silently wanted to do forever, and then it feels like it's too late. Yep, sometimes we wait. However, there is waiting, and then there's actively waiting, as in preparing. And so let's talk more about that. Looking back at my recent post about maintenance, I can wait until my systems fail for me to take action on something. I can wait until I have surgery on my shoulder again, just did, and I can't carry a heavy bag of music, or I can take action now, right? I don't have to wait until the system fails to make updates. I don't have to wait. I can make things happen with the current situation, like the one I just shared, and the current technology or tools that I have. And I can take those steps. I can get started, and so can you. I know sometimes waiting feels easier. It's less risky. The unknown can feel scary. We wait because of fear or frustration or worry, or because we believe that perfect will come along if we wait long enough, and that will solve all the problems without any of the risk. But perfect is an unrealistic qualification, and it may never happen. Just ask Kelly the skeleton. So let's consider how to turn our passive waiting into active preparation, using waiting for good. Now here's another, if you know, you know. As Inigo Montoya in The Princess Bride says, I hate waiting, right? So Wesley knows how to make waiting better. He said, if you're in such a hurry, you could lower a rope or a tree branch or find something useful to do. Yes, Princess Bride is my favorite movie. But we can ask ourselves too, what are we waiting for with those different emphases? And then we can ask, what is something useful to do? What ownership can we take of our actions or of the situation? I mean, what if we feel like we have a long time to wait? What if you want to travel the world someday, but you feel like you need to wait for the money or opportunity or a travel buddy, etc.? So, hey, how about making that more real by studying a foreign language now in preparation for someday, right? And let's use tools right now that help diminish our stress while waiting. And I don't mean scrolling social media, which can cause us more stress. I mean like breathing exercises or loading a Kindle app on your phone and reading a book while you wait. if you have things that you wait for. Try meditation, try prayer. This may sound a little OCD, but in the moment, I count. I used to be much more impatient and would get irritated anytime I got stopped in traffic by a train, or if I felt I had to wait after I knocked on the door or stood in line. And now I actually just count, which is its own type of meditation. And I've realized that waiting made me feel anxious, and it also tended to distort time so that it felt like it was passing more quickly or slowly than it actually was. So I count. And that makes it real, and it also helps me with awareness. Like, how fast or slow is time really passing? Now, we all know waiting is a close neighbor of procrastination for certain. And some of the strategies that work for breaking procrastination work for changing up our habits around waiting as well. So let's sum up. Dr. Seuss, always spot on. Princess Bride, same deal. So let's gain awareness that is happening and what that unnamed anxious or frustrated feeling might be about. Let's identify what exactly we're waiting for by using maybe the exercise that I mentioned above. And also, for you and for me, let's identify what actions we can take, even if we still have to wait. And then we explored some tools to help us build resilience and patience and stress management, because we all know that waiting is hard. Support around not delaying your best life, whatever that looks like for you, is what productivity coaching is all about. If it's time to invest in yourself and explore coaching for organizing and productivity, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a line via email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com or message me through my social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you next week.